In this video, for the Pfaff Creative 1.5 sewing machine and embroidery machine, we're going to teach you how to thread the machine correctly and how to wind a bobbin. So a couple things about machines and thread. They are going to work better if you buy good quality thread. So just make sure you're not using, thread from your grandma's sewing box. If it has a little label and has a cents sign on it, you know what I'm talking about. Let's put good quality thread in. If it looked like a good deal, it probably was for a reason. So don't skimp on thread. And if you have problems, make sure you put a good quality thread on and see if that actually fixes the problems of a machine. And don't forget needles. That's also another thing to change and make sure you have a fresh needle in. So for threading the machine, we're going to start off by doing a bobbin. And I'm going to just take the bobbin that came with the machine that's right inside here. And this bobbin is considered a plastic class 15 bobbin. That does mean that you can pick this up just about anywhere. It's a very common bobbin, but not for all machines. So just because you have a plastic bobbin from an older machine doesn't mean that this is the bobbin that works for this one. So just double check with your Pfaff store, maybe take some of your bobbins and they can tell you yes or no if they're the same. So just make sure no mixing and matching of bobbins unless they are exactly identical. Okay, so I'm going to start by putting this spool of thread on the machine and matching the end with the spool cap. Make sure you don't leave a gap in between here at all. That can also cause problems as you stitch. Now there's actually a way to wind this bobbin from the spool and also wind a bobbin when the machine is threaded. So if you follow the directions in your manual, they'll have you thread the machine through the needle, come up underneath the presser foot. You have to make sure the presser foot is up. That is, you don't want to do it with it down. And then you come back up the first groove here and then over to the bobbin area. But since I don't have it threaded, it doesn't make sense for me to thread it, then do it. But just know that there are two ways to wind this bobbin. So you're always going to use the first guide that's directly in front of the spool that you're working with. And then we're going to follow the arrows and the little dotted arrows around towards the little pretensioner. Let me talk about this little pretensioner right here. I'm bringing the thread around the back little finger, underneath it, and over towards where I'm going. Now, you need to make sure this clicks in here. If it doesn't click in, you'll get where when you wind a bobbin, it's fluffy. And fluffy bobbins just, well, they don't do well at all. And you'll need to make sure that it winds nice and solid on the bobbin. Next, take your thread and from the inside to out in one of the holes, take your thread through that and then push the bobbin onto the bobbin winder and go ahead and push it to the right. I'll be holding this thread just nice and tight above my bobbin. Step on the foot control and it will start to spin. Now after a while this thread will break off, or I can stop, which is probably a good idea, and cut it really close to the base of the bobbin. You don't want to have any little thread sticking up because when you put it down in the bobbin area, you will find that when a stitch is made, it crisscrosses over that top of that little bobbin area, and you don't want it to be interfered at all when it's trying to stitch here. So just go ahead, keep your foot on the foot control. It will stop spinning when it is full enough here. And then there is a little cutter right here. So once I'm done, I can lift the bobbin and then pull it off to the side. Now when you do embroidery, one of the things that we're going to do is use bobbin thread. There's the end of my fill here. Bobbin thread actually is much thinner and it actually, well, because it's thinner, you'll get more on your bobbin. So we do like that. So but we're going to lift up. I slid the bobbin back, lift up, come around the little cutter, and then that's perfect. Now if you watch, if I pick this up the exact way it filled, it is exactly the way it needs to go down into the bobbin area. You need the thread to come off the left side of the bobbin, and we'll do a video that's a little closer up here. And then you follow the little track with the arrow and make sure it clicks in here. Did you notice I kind of put my finger on the bobbin so it didn't allow me to pull it through? And just follow around. Down here's a little cutter. I'm going to pull to the right, cut that thread, and then replace the bobbin door. The nice thing about this machine is you don't have to bring up the bobbin thread when you start to sew. You can go ahead and just start. Now, the little pretensioner we used up here, this is just for winding a bobbin. So we're going to undo all of that. We are using the first guide of the in front of the spool of thread, and now there's arrows that are pointing me to just bring the thread down. I do want to make sure, once again, the presser foot is up when you're threading the machine. Now, right here, right inside this part is where the tension discs close. So sometimes what I recommend is that you hold onto the thread with your right hand and then thread the machine with your left, and right here after you come up, give it a little floss back and forth. Make sure you go in on the right, down on the left to catch the take-up lever. Then there is a guide right at the top of the needle, open here on the right side, and then there's the beautiful needle threader. Now we'll do again a video of a close-up of that needle threader, because once you master that, well, number one, because you are doing the embroidery part of your machine, you're going to be changing colors a lot. You want to make sure you know how to use the needle threader. You'll always notice that I'm going to be folding my fabric in half, so I'm sewing on 2 layers of fabric. Have you ever noticed if you just sew on 1 layer, it doesn't look as good as if you sew on 2 layers? So just go ahead, let's see if everything is working correctly. Ooh, this is a nice sounding machine. I think I'm gonna love actually doing all the videos. Here, let's use the thread snips, the scissors. That will cut both my needle thread and my bobbin thread. I can lift it up and pull it straight out, and I have a perfect stitch. And now we're ready to go on to all the rest of the cool things that the Pfaff Creative 1.5 sewing machine can offer.